Hi and welcome to Python Scientific Calculator. So let me show you guys how it works. Just like any other calculator, so we can multiply plus minus, multiply that by 5, clear, find the square root of that, clear, go to the scientific calculator. There we go. And supposing we want pi, that's pi, the cosine of pi, tangent, okay? So we can also find pi multiplied by 2, logarithm of that, sine of that, exponential, mode 6, what do we get there? So what I'm going to do now is to take you guys straight into Python editing environment, and we'll put one of these very advanced calculator tutorial together. So let's do that now, guys. Hi, welcome to Python Scientific Calculator tutorial. I'm going to start by importing the following. So I've entered from TK, let's import all of the library, enter a star there. The next thing I'm going to import is going to be the maths. Then I will also import parse. Let's import TK dot message box there. Now the name of my app is called root. Okay, root equals TK, enter parentheses, and let me give my app a title. So it's going to be known as Scientific Calculator. Root.title, inside a bracket, that's going to be scientific. Now the choice is yours. You can always give it a background. So the background is going to be root.config or configure, and that is going to be background equals, I'm gonna call it powdered blue there. The next thing is I'm going to restrict, so you will not be, the user will not be able to adjust the size. So I'm going to say resizable width equals false, and height as well equals false there. Okay, the next thing we want to do now is, let me set the geometry of my calculator. So that's how you set the size. So it's going to be, I want to make that 480 multiply or by 568 plus 0 there. So plus 0 means it's going to start from up here. Okay, so the next thing we want to do now is, I'm going to create a frame. I'll call that frame calculator or calc. Let's say that's frame, and this frame is going to be inside the root. Right, so let's say calc dot grid equals that. Okay, before I continue with the rest, let me give my application a name. I'm just going to call it Scientific Calculator there. That is it, saved. Okay, let's continue. And first of all, let's correct this error. That's supposed to be background, and this is supposed to be powder blue as the background. Okay, the next thing I would like to do is I'm going to like to create the following. That's going to be my menu. Let's call that menu bar equals menu, and that menu is going to be right inside the calc itself, this frame. Okay, so the next thing is I'm going to say file menu equals menu, and this very menu is going to be right inside menu bar, this very one there. And let's say menu equals, one of the attributes for menu is tear off equals 0, and close that. And the other part is going to be menu dot add underscore cascade. Right, and what I want it to add is going to be a label. This label will be known as file, right, comma, and menu equals file menu there. Okay, the next thing I would like to develop would be the item that would be inside the file. So I'm going to call that menu dot add file menu dot add underscore command, and that is going to be label equals, let me call the first one standard calculator. I'll just enter standard there, right, and close that. And the second one is going to be known as scientific, and let's add one more. This is scientific. Let's copy all of this, paste it right there, and here I'm just going to enter exit. You can enter whatever you like. Okay, now that is done, I have 1, 2. Okay, let's enter a separator here. So just to show you guys how to add a separator. So that's going to be file underscore file dot add underscore separator, and that is how we create a separator. Get rid of that. Okay, so I would like to run this, but before that let me ask the system to display root.configure has to display the menu itself. So that's going to be menu equals menu bar, right. So one other thing, let me just end the whole system there and ask it to loop. Okay, so let's run it and see what we've done so far. So let's get rid of this config, right, that's fine. Okay, let's run it and just see how it's going to look like for now. There we go, that's my system, and there we go, you see that, and that's the separator I was talking about. Okay, that is fine. So the next thing is, let me create another menu. I'm just going to copy all of these and just dump it right there. So that's going to be known as edit. Paste that in there and just call that edit. And the content I want inside edit, let's say is going to be maybe cut, copy and paste, something like that, right. and I'll just change the name to edit. So okay, and change this as well. Let's move this so that you can see it. Right, edit, and this is going to be known as edit as well. Right, all done. If I run in, this is what you guys will see. There we go, that's my edit. Well, I need to change the content in there, and to do that, this will have to be known as edit. Right, so let's run it again and you see what I'm talking about. That has changed. There we go. We now have cut, copy and paste on this one. Standard, scientific and exit. Right, then the next one, let's create just one more. I'm gonna copy all of these up to maybe here. Just copy that, and I'm gonna change that to help. Paste that in there, change these to help. Change this to help as well. And up here or in there, add help, and right inside there, let me just call that view help. Right, and all of these will be known as help menu. There, that is that done. Okay, so the first part, you guys have actually learned how to create a menu. So if I run in, this is what you will see there. Okay, those are my menus. Alright, now let's get these two, just these two alone, or these three menus here to do something for us. Okay, I'm gonna close that. Okay, the first thing I like to do is, let me just create a separator here so that there's room. So I'm just gonna call that menu, and right up here on top, right on top of the menu itself, I'm going to create my function. The first one is going to be known as iExit, and that is for function exit. So iExit equals as tk inner dot message box. Let's select message box dot, and that's going to be ask yes or no, and here I'm going to enter scientific calculator there. So copy that here, paste that right in there, scientific calculator, and comma, confirm if you want to exit. Close that. Then use an if statement to check the option made by the user. I exit. If I exit is greater than 0, then root dot destroy. Okay, that is that done. And ask the system to return. Alright, that is done. Okay, that's how simple that is. Now the exit, I will now call the exit right in here. So all we just need to do is comma, and you enter command equals iExit. That's the function. I've just called this function now. So if I save and run it, exit no, exit yes. Now you know how to create menu and call the menu. Okay, let's repeat the same thing for scientific and standard. So this is going to be known as standard, command standard, and command scientific. those will be the name of the function. So the first one is going to be function scientific. Okay, in the case of function scientific, all I just need to do is to copy what I have in here. I'm going to copy everything here, the geometry, just these two. Those are the important bit that I need for now, and paste it right in there. Okay, there. This will be for standard as well, so copy that there. In the case of standard, let's change the name to standard. So standard is fine, and that of scientific, we have to change the size of this. So I'm going to make that approximately 944. Okay, so what will happen is when I click on this, I can change the size of the form itself and reduce it here as well. So let's run it and see. Scientific, there we go. You see that, guys? And change it back to standard. Exit. Yeah. So the menu is now working how we want. Now what we then need to do is to create the calculator itself. So have a good look at how to create a menu and the function, menu and function. There. Okay. The next thing I want to do now is to start developing my widget. So I'm going to start with an entry. So I'm going to call that txt display, and that is going to be entry. And right inside the entry is going to be, this entry is going to be right inside the name calculator there, or calc. So let me give it a font. My font is equals to, I will go for area, and that is going to be, let's say 20, and we'll make it bold. Right, close that. Then the back color, I'm going to make that BG is going to be known as powdered blue, and let's say the border around it, I'm going to make that approximately 30. I can always reduce that, and the width, I'm going to make that 28. And let's justify it, justify right. Okay, close that. Now the next thing I want to do is to add my display in a grid. Dot grid equals is going to be in row 0 and column 0. Column equals 0, and I would also like it to span, let's say that should cover about 4 widgets, and let's pad it equals 1 there. Okay, when I run this program, I would like the display to show zeros in them. So let's say insert display equals insert the value of 0, comma, there we go. Right, that is my display. So if I run this system now, this is what it should look like. You should be able to see a display there. I need a comma here. Right, hopefully I've got it right. Let's see, let's run it. What is okay? I need equals here. That is actually supposed to be 28. What else have I done wrong? Okay then, let's try it one more time. Okay, that is it. Now let's add some buttons to that. For the buttons, I'm going to declare the following. Let's call it number pad. That's going to be my variable for buttons, and that's going to be arranged as 7, 8, 9. Then let's go for 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. There. That is going to be the arrangement of the buttons. So we'll say I equals 0. BTN for my button, that would be the array for the button. Make sure your array is in a square bracket. And let's use a for loop for j in range. I'm going to make my range 2 to 3, no, 2 to 5. You can make it 1 to 4 if you want. Okay, that's my range. And let's say for k in range 3, so that will be 3 by 3. So this is 3, 4, 5, and this is 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 by 3, 1, 2, and 3. Right, then the next one is going to be btn dot append, and what I want it to append will be a button, and this very button is inside my cog. Okay, and the width of this button, let's make it 6 by 6. I'm just making it 6 by 6 so that for this tutorial. That might be a little bit too large anyway. And the height is 2, while the font is going to be 20. So let's just copy all of this, paste it right there. Okay, then let's say the border around it is BD, that's going to be 4. And the text for this button is going to be the content on the number pad here, and that is in an array. So let's say number pad equals I. There we go. So all of this content here is now stored inside I. Okay, close that. Now btn equals I dot grade, and the grade in this case, the rule is going to be equals j, this very one. Okay, and while the column is going to be k equals k, comma, and let's pad it 1. Close that. So we can then say I plus equals 1. Okay, let's get it indented and we can then try it out. Save and run it. There, that is how it looks like. Okay, right. Okay, I will create a button right on top here. So I'm going to call that button, let's say btn clear, and btn clear equals button, and the button is going to be inside our very frame. The text on it, I'm going to call that text CHR. Let's use an ASCII notation. 177. That's the wrong one. It's 60. Let's say 67. Alright. So let's say comma, and the width itself is going to be that. We can even copy all of these. Let's copy this. The width, the height is all the same anyway. There. And I am going to make that powdered blue as well. So copy this and paste it there. Okay, what else do I need to do now? Let's get it in a grid. So you can just come in here and enter, let's say enter here, close that and say dot grid. That will be row 0. No, the row is going to be 1 1. Okay, let's copy this and paste that there, close that. This is going to be 1 and that will be 1 as well. And let's get it parted, that will be 1 as well. Right, okay, let's correct this. It should be 6. Alright, let's run it now and see how this looks like. Then we can let's take care of the others. Okay, now that's fine. Let's take care of, let's copy this across, copy. I still need it right on top anyway. So let's say this one is 0, column 0, that's column 1, and the content on this one is going to be, let's say, plus 69. Right, let's run that and see. Okay, close that. Now I need one on top, another one. In fact, I can copy both, copy them both. So this is one of these will be known as clear all. Let's call this clear all. Okay, let's change this to, okay, this will be square roots. You can always get that sign in Word, so let's change this to square. Right, and this I'm going to change it to this to addition. Okay, change all of these. Right, now let's see if this is 1 and this will be 2 and this will be 3. Right, let's run it and see. Okay, that's fine. Now what I then need to do is to add, subtract and so on. So let's come right down here. I'm going to have to copy and just speed that up. Copy this. So the next one is going to be on row 2. That will be for subtract. This is subtract. So that will be row 2. Yeah. And subtraction sign there. Let's see that. There we go. So I believe you guys get the whole idea. So I'm just going to try and speed up the whole process. So the next one is going to be multiplication. So just copy that, paste, paste. If this is 2, this is 3 and 4. That's it. And division. Right. In the case of division, you can use, let's use the ASCII character. That's 247. Okay, so let's see. Let's run it all and see. There we go. So I'm now going to speed up the whole development of the lower part of this calculator. So as you can see, nothing is happening, but everything is taking shape. Okay, so I'm just going to speed that up and get back to you guys shortly. So copy, paste. Okay guys, the bottom part is all taken care of. So if I run it, this is how it all looks like now. Okay, we now need to create the scientific part of it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have to copy every single thing that we have in here, everything here, and just change it around for the scientific part of it. So we're breaking that, and in there I'm just going to enter scientific. Calculator, and right inside just paste that and just change the rows and columns around. Okay, and I'll get back to you guys shortly. Okay, here are the lines of code for the scientific part of it. Okay, this is one row. Let's take it down, and that's the next one, and followed by this. All of the different functions, you can go online, you should be able to see all of these functions that I've used: logarithm 2, degree, a cosine, a sine, log 10, log 1p, and so on. You should be able to see them online. So if I run it now, this is how it looks like. There's nothing happening here, as you can see. So I click on file, let's go to scientific, there we go, and here let's go back to standard, scientific, there. Okay, and nothing is happening. So like I said, all of these different functions that you see in the mathematical functions, you will see them online. If you go to Pi software functions, something like that, you should be able to see them in there, or just search for it, you should see them. Okay, one other thing is, let me just write scientific in here. So underneath here I'm going to create a label, so let's call that LBL display, and my display is going to be a label, and this label is going to be residence inside my frame called calc, and the text on it is going to be equals to scientific calculator. I'm just going to copy that and paste it there. Okay, do I need a font? Okay, let's go for 20 or maybe 30 for the font. I'm going to copy that, paste that in there, change this to 30. And what else do I want? Let's justify it, center, justify equals center. Right, and display, paste that in there, display dot grid equals, let it be row 0, right, and the column is going to be 4, column 4, comma, and let it span by 4, right. Okay, so let's run it and see. First of all, let's correct this. That's a British spelling, but it's got to be American spelling. So there. So let's come here, click on run, there. Okay, if we go to scientific, there we go. Alright, so let's start by creating some functions. Okay, the first thing is, let me create a class here. So, and I will call it calc with uppercase C, and let's declare a function and initialize it. So it's going to be self there, and let's create one variable here. I'm going to call that variable total equals 0, and another variable is going to be self.current, and the current equals nothing there. The next one is going to also be self.input underscore value, and that is true. So let's go for another one. It's going to be dot checksum. I call that underscore sum equals false, and the operator dot operator equals there. Then the result equals false. Right. Now that all of that is done, the next thing, I'm going to declare another variable, and this is going to be for my number. So I'll call that number enter equals self underscore num, self dot result. I have a tutorial on YouTube for you guys to see. You will see the link on the description for how to create just the standard calculator. Right, so result equals false. And what is now? Let me declare my first number. First num equals txt display, and that will be dot get. So whatever we have in here is stored in there. And the second number that is going to be string, and that whatever we have in there is now string. Now let's use an if statement. If self dot input value, input underscore value, this is what I want the system to do. So that will become self dot current. Okay, self dot current equals second number. Alright, self dot input underscore value, that equals false. Right, else if second number, so let's indent this. If second number, else, this is what I want the system to do. Okay, let's create a sort of variable here that I will use to add all of my numbers. So I'm going to say add value equals that. Right, let's make sure that's fine. Okay, let's try and call this very first one button. Let's say, just to try it if it works as we want, btn I, that's for the array. So I'm going to then enter command the command equals lambda's function, right? Let's say x equals number pad, and I equals added value dot number. So that is the name of this function, number, and paste that in here. And this is a wrong spelling, so should be a U there, right? Let's paste an X so that we know what we are calling, right? Okay, now that I have called this command inside this variable thing, the next thing is I'm going to have to create a function called display, else there will be an error. So we just speed that up. There we go. Alright, that's the function called display that I referred to here. So let's run it now and see what's going to happen. So yeah, that is fine. We are able to enter values. Okay, that's fine, but we cannot enter 0 yet, so until we call that function as well. Okay, for us to be able to enter 0, so I'm going to copy this. Let's just copy everything here and change it, and let me go straight inside 0. Let's see 0, where is that? There we go. So here I'm going to say comma. There's a lot of course I copied that. Let me change it around first, get rid of that, and I'm going to get rid of these as well, change it to column. I don't need this. Okay, and that means here we're going to have to change this to 0 instead of the variables declared up there. So cut that off, and I'll just put that right in here, comma, there. Okay, and let's see if that is going to work. Alright, let me just run it. Let's see now. 800. Okay, that's fine. It's working as we want. Alright then, close that. 0 is done. The next one. Okay, before we continue calling the commands, let me create one more function right underneath here. So that is going to be known as sum of total. Okay, that is there. So if you look up here now from class, okay, all I'm just doing is putting together all the functions that I'm going to use. I've already used this function to call the numbers, okay, and I'll be using sum up in conjunction with operator. The next function is going to be to check the various operators that I'm going to be using. So there we go. I have it right here. Those are the different operators. Okay, if self.operator equals add, I want it to do this. Subtract, I want it to do that. So I'm actually referring to the name on each of those buttons. Okay, now that those are done, the next thing we want to do now is to make sure those buttons have the right name. Okay, so let's use command to call those operators. Let's see which one is. Okay, look at addition. in the addition, I'm going to use, let's see that of 0. I'm going to copy all of this from 0. Let's go straight into addition. Paste that in here. I would have just copied the command and so on. And in here, I'm going to change that to addition. Okay, but instead of number here, we need to call the operation. And here, first of all, change this so addition to add, and the operator is called operations. Copy the operation, and right inside here, instead of number enter, that becomes add value underscore. Okay, that will be operator, add underscore value dot operator. Alright, so let's move this up, this one, and my command will be down here, so that is fine. Okay, let's see subtract. I'm going to repeat exactly the same thing for the subtraction. So let's come right down here, and I'm going to move that up as well. Right, we have a comma here. Press enter and paste, then change here to subtract. So those are what the find, what this value underscore function will be looking for, okay, on each of those buttons. So let's come right, we've done that of addition and subtraction, so I'm going to copy all of that. And the next one, okay, multiplication. Okay, let's move these up as well. Put a comma there, press enter, multiplication, mult. Okay, the names that I have in here, the value that I have in there must be the same thing here. Okay, look at this, there's an I there, so I must add an I to mine here. Right, that is taken care of. What about division? That will be division, and the spelling. Okay, let's say divide. I think that's what I have up here. Right, divide. Okay, let's repeat the same thing for this dot. Right, so move this up, let's cut it up and paste it right here, put a comma on there, and just copy all of this. That will be for my dot. Paste that right here. That is for dots. So I will now speed up the rest of this, and oh, I think it's all done anyway. Okay, let's check. So only 6 of them will be calling Lambda. Alright, that's good. Now PM. For all of these to work, including PM, pi, and so on, I'm going to have to create some other functions. So let's come right underneath here. Right here, I'm going to create another function, and this one is going to be for, let's go for a simple one. I'm just going to call that pi. So pi is going to be self.result. Okay, self.result equals false. And What about current? So that's going to be self.current equals map.py. So that's the function for that. That's easy. So let's come back here and say self.display equals self.current. Right, that is the py taken care of. So I can call the py right away if I come in here and look for the component py. There we go, and right there I can just type in command equals py. Let's put there's a comma there already. So let's run the py. That should be easy. Alright, let's see. Let's get this indented properly. Okay, let's see. I think that might be all. Let's run it again. Py is not defined. Okay. We are supposed to call it with add. Alright, let's come right down. Add value. Where is the py? Right there. Add value dot py. Yeah. Was is inside the calc. Right. Let's see. Come to scientific and click on py. You see that? So that is fine. That is working as expected. Now the other one, we might as well just take care of the second py, and we may have to speed that up. Okay, py 2, I'm going to copy that. It's called top. So let's change that to top. There's a function there that you guys can see, mathematics function for top itself. So that is equals as follows: force and mass will become mass dot. So just to prove to you that it's there, look at it, it's right there. Double click on it, that's the function there. So that is taken care of. Now I need to call that inside my button here. So I'm going to copy this first, and let's look for that. There we go. Just paste that in there and just change it to that. Okay, so it's like multiplying the pie by 2's. So let's see. Come right in there, multiply the pie by 2, and that's it. 6 point whatever. Right, that's how that works. And we also have function e. So if I copy this, e is another constant. That's e alone. So it's going to be dot. Let's see, e. There we go. It's right there. Okay, guys. So that is how we're going to take care of those functions. Let's look for e right here. There we go. That's e. I can copy the ones that I've taken care of and paste that for e. I'm now going to speed up the whole function declaration, and I'll get back to you guys shortly. Okay guys, I've finished up with the function declarations. Let me show it to you. Okay, that's the first one. that we use to call the numbers, and here this is for equals. I'm going to use this for equals. I might as well copy that, and let's take care of that now. So that is the function declaration for equals which we did earlier. Okay, let's come right down to equals, button equals there somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So in the case of equals, that is the button right there. So all you need to do is come right in here. I'll say comma and enter command equals add underscore value dot there. That's the sum for equals. So if I run the program now, I should be able to sum up whatever in there, because it seems I've been concentrating on the scientific one. Alright, the equals is now working. So as for the scientific part of it, these are not working, so I need to take care of all of that, and this is not working as well. Okay, let's see, logarithm is working. Alright, E must be working, that's fine. Okay, all of those are now working. Alright, so let's take care of 1, 2, and 3. Okay, let's scroll up to the functions. These are the functions for clear. Okay, this is for clear and this is for clear all. So I'm going to call both of them now. So this is clear all. Let's just copy this and scroll down to the button where we have clear and clear all to be here. Okay, let's clear this first. Let's command equals add. It should be one add underscore value dot clear. That is just for clear. Get rid of all. So the next one is going to be clear all. Should have that here somewhere. Oh, look at it, it's right below it. So I'm just gonna copy that and change that. Copy it, paste it right there. Getting a little bit tired. Right. Okay, let's try out the clear button. That's for clear and that's clear all. So we'll run the program and just see. Enter whatever in there. There we go. And that is fine. Okay, exponential not working yet. Right. Okay then. So the next one is to take care of the square. So let's look for the function for square, which is, and that's going to be here. So if I copy all of these first, just paste that in there and look for the function. Scroll right up and right there, that's the function for my square. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the name and paste that in there right there. Okay, this is the command I call the square. So let's try out the square to make sure it works. Alright then, let's say 9 and that should be 3. That is correct. Let's say 64 should give us 8. That is correct. So that square root thing is working. Alright, let's just be sure that all of the standard button components are working. 5.6, let's say, okay, that's fine. Multiply by that. Okay, that is fine. And let's clear it. Let's see, 3 plus minus is not working, so we need to get that sorted now. So all these other ones are working apart from plus minus. Okay, right up here, this is the function for the plus minus. Have a good look at it, this very one. Okay, I'm gonna copy that, and right below it are all the functions for square, cosine, h, tangent, and so on. So we'll come to those ones shortly. Okay, let's come in here, plus and minus, and there we go, right there, comma, paste, and just copy the other functions. Copy that and paste that in there, and get rid of the lambs there. Alright, the plus minus is sorted now, so let's run it and see. Let's say 5 minus multiply by 9. Okay, you now owe 45 pounds. Alright, that's fine. Okay, I think all of this standard calculator is now working. So let's go to the scientific part of it. That is fine, clear, fine, clear. Okay, that is fine. Logarithm is working. That is working. Log 10 is working. Cosine, tangent, sine, cos h. Alright, that's working as well. Mode 9 equals. Okay, that's working. E is working. Degree works. And there, guys. Alright, so let me just show you guys all of the functions. That's what you have not seen properly. The function for numbers, function for equals, function for display, and these are the functions for the arithmetic operators. Okay, add, subtract, multiply, division, mode, and the operators. We have the operators there. Clear, clear all. Functions for p and n, plus or minus, for square, cos h, and we have tangent h, sine h, for log, exponential, pi times 2, this is pi times 2, they are all constant. E, cosine h, sine is sine h. I don't know what this EM stands for, but you will find more information about it online. Okay, I gamma or L gamma, something like that. Degrees, log 10, log 1p. Those are all the functions that I use for my scientific part of the calculator. So guys, with that, I'm going to call it the end of this tutorial. So I suppose you guys enjoyed. You all have a nice day now. Bye for now.